All right, thanks, Shaun. So I'm going to kind of change the focus over to Levi a little bit. Obviously, Levi's with a new team this year. Very exciting, and I'm very curious to know how Levi uses the altitude tent and how it's or the altitude system and how it's helped him. And I think if it's okay, Robbie, if we can open it up to questions and answers afterwards from the group here, from the audience. So I guess my first question to Levi, and that everybody wants to know, is like, how did camp go? And how did camp go in Austin?
Well, I prefer Northern California, so for me it was a little bit long, but it was great to meet all the new guys. And you know, after the first couple of days, everybody's like, you can tell everybody's a little bit reserved and nobody knows each other. But then after having some time together, and we actually did some paintball and stuff like this, that we were all friends, and you know, that made it all worthwhile to be there, just to get to know everyone. And for me, it was pretty special because, you know, that's where I started my career in Europe, and now to come back, it felt like putting on an old shoe.
Altitude system. When did you start using it? And kind of give us tell us a little bit about how you came to use it. Did you meet Shaun and you know, did he talk you into it? Have you heard through other riders? You know, was it, you know, something to do? Was it something interesting to you, or how did it come about? And then once it did come about, how did it affect your training? How did you feel? And have you been able to quantify that in any way?
Well, I think it started for me. I mean, I grew up at altitude, actually. I'm from Butte, Montana, and that's a mile high. And then, you know, obviously, I moved away. I went to Salt Lake for a while, which is also altitude. And I've been living here up in Santa Rosa for 10 years now. And then in 2005, I started doing more altitude training, actually going to the mountains, Switzerland, Spain, and doing some altitude training. And it definitely paid off for me. I had my best year that year in the Tour, and then when it came time in the Tour of Germany, the decisive stage was the highest finish of the whole Pro Tour that year, and I had maybe my best day of my life at that point. And so I became more interested in it because, you know, I found out that, hey, it really works for me. So you know, then I went to the #1 name in altitude training, which is Colorado Altitude, and I've got the tent looks like this, actually a little bit bigger because my wife and I have all our animals in there as well. So, and actually I have a travel one as well, and I've taken that to races. I've taken it to Europe and around Europe. So for me, you know, like I said, I had done the altitude training before, and I knew it was for me it was a big benefit, and as you know, everyone that does it. So that really opened my eyes. So then when I got the tent, which was about this time last year, I started sleeping in it, and well, obviously it's not, you know, not in 1 or 2 days you don't all of a sudden start riding faster. But after a week, I thought to myself, well, I think I noticed it, you know. And then after 2 weeks, it was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then after 3 weeks, there was no doubt, really. I think everybody has a different sensation, but for me, when I woke up in the morning, it was like the throttle was wide open. All I had to do was drop the clutch. I was really just wanted to get out the door and ride. When I got those first few breaths of sea level, I just couldn't wait to get out there and push on the pedals. And also, I noticed my metabolism was going a lot faster.
So if it affected your metabolism, was it helpful then in weight control?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that it definitely does take weight off. I mean, training at altitude, living at altitude, it does, I believe, burn more fat, right? That's been proven. Yeah.
Maybe you can answer a little bit.
Yeah, people who live at altitude tend to be leaner than those of us who used to live at sea level, and they also live longer and have healthier lives. So there are some benefits to altitude living. Not that we, go out of our way to claim any. We have to be very careful there. But there are some good healthy facts associated with altitude. One of the things that Levi mentioned that I hadn't heard him say before was how in the morning he felt kind of ready to go, and I felt this as well. And I also found that I seemed to be recovering better. And in Australia, they noticed this as well with their athletes, and so they did a bit of a study there. They had guys, they actually simulated the Tour Down Under, and they had a group of riders, and they would do 2 90-minute sessions on a static bike each day, so 3 hours per day for 6 days on a static bike, and each day they did 88 maximum efforts. I mean, this is a killer program. And then half of the guys sleep. They all slept in some they thought was an altitude tent, but half of them were at sea level and half at altitude. What they were looking for was recovery, and those that slept at altitude recovered absolutely as well as those at sea level. In fact, they recovered a little better than those who slept at sea level. And the thought that the Australians had, why this was, is that when we go to sleep, our muscles actually we shut down too much. It's actually a little better if they're at altitude, and the body's metabolism is kept going a little more. The blood flow is a little higher, because it's the blood flow which carries the nutrients round to the muscles and repairs the micro muscle tears and helps the muscles recover. And we believe that that's the reason why people who sleep at altitude and use the altitude equipment do seem to recover a little better and do seem to be ready to go right out of the gun in the morning. So it's one of these things where we know the benefits are there, and now we're trying to work out why.